Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today to share with you this layout I created using a Paige Evans digital cut file. I arranged the file on my silhouette mat as that and took the innards out and then cut the white background. Then I put the innards back in and colored them so that I color-coded each of the letters with the 5 different pattern papers from a 6x6 pad and then adhered them onto, well, I stuck them as I had adhered them or color coordinated them onto that white background there. And I have these 3 pictures that I converted to black and white of my daughter trick-or-treating on Halloween last year. And I knew that I wanted to use these 3 pictures. And my original thought had been that I would cut them out as those oval shapes of the O's and insert them throughout the layout. But because of the busyness of all the different pattern papers, I felt like the pictures got lost in the wording, and I really wanted the emphasis of this layout to be on the cut file as well as the pictures telling the story of my daughter on Halloween. So I left them as they were in a, I think these are 2x3, or the size of the pictures. Actually, they might be smaller than that. I think they're only as tall as 2 1/4. And so I put the white frame around them just to mat them so that they stood out against the black background. And I did not leave myself a lot of room because I had cut out the mat, the white background, pretty big. So I had to tuck them in behind the phrase, which was fine. So I am going to speed this up as I literally pick up each of the letters and glue them down. I started out using my Prima glue pen, but found that I didn't want to waste the Prima glue pen. And I also wasn't able to get into some of the nooks and crannies quite as well as I was with this Martha Stewart pen, so I did switch pens on this. So I will speed this up as I literally pick up each of the letters that I had already laid out how I was going to lay them out. And then I will go upstairs and I will use similar color threads to stitch through the center of each of the lines. And some of them I zigzag stitched, or what would look, what one thought was a zigzag stitch, but actually ends up looking more like Frankenstein suturing. And then I did go through with gold and orange and just did some straight stitching. I lost an eye there, and so I just used a scrap piece of paper from the 6x6 pad. That's what I was flipping through there to create another eye to stick in that spot there. I did use in at your door, the first D, I did stray from my usual pattern, and it says Happy Halloween in there. It was from one of the little journal cards from the 6x6 pad. The rest of it is really just alternating the 6, I think it's actually 5 different paper patterns. I tried not to make it the same pattern so that it went orange, teal, black, orange, teal, black, but I tried to mix it up some. And my plan was that I was then going to use all sorts of different decorations, and pieces, ephemera, to just decorate either the edges and or some of the centers of the sentiment, because with the busyness of the different pattern papers and the phrase taking up the amount of room that it is, it sort of makes the layout what it is, or were my thoughts anyway. So really, what was most time consuming about this layout was adhering each and every single one of these letters down, as well as figuring out the coloring and cutting them out. It didn't take a lot of work to cut them out, but figuring out the colors and aligning them on the mat and then placing them back on the white background took a little bit of work in doing. So as you can see, this letter adhering is rather time consuming. So these pictures I converted in black and white. I do try and use my DSLR on Halloween. While I have to push the ISO a lot higher in order to get pictures, I find that by converting them to black and white, I get much clearer images because by pushing the ISO and photographing at night without the flash, the pictures do become pretty grainy, but by converting them to black and white, I can sharpen them and either add more grain or take more grain out in Photoshop in the filters that I use, or the actions. So the first picture is of my daughter standing at our doorstep, and it was still fairly light. The second picture is of my daughter at somebody's door ringing the doorbell, and then the third picture is of her with all of her loot after the fact. And they are allowed to have one piece before they go to bed and then save 10 pieces for the rest of the week. So I've adhered all the layers, and you can see there I'm going to show you that I've been upstairs to the sewing machine and stitched those down. I like to clean off my edges when I've been upstairs, especially if I've sewed in multiple colored threads. So I pull through the thread that's on the front of the layout and then just adhere those down with that artist tape, as you can see there. And then that way, as I slide the page into the page protectors, the threads don't get caught and they don't make a mess on the back there. So I just pulled out a bunch of artist tape for each of those different lines and cleaned up the back of the layout there. And I had left those two little hyphens for jack-o'-lanterns and needed to adhere those down. And now that I have that all set, it's time to go to town and decorate the rest of the layout. So I pulled bits and pieces from Recollections or Michael's. Those are those gold and black and gold word phrases there. And then I pulled puffy stickers from the crepe paper collection that I used. And I just chose random phrases and put them into spots that I thought would fit. What made the decorations and the embellishing of this layout a little bit difficult was the fact that I had gone through the center of each of the words. I felt like if I were to use a straight sticker, like those phrase stickers underneath, you ruin the symmetry on the line. So I had to try and place the stickers where I had the stitching as well. So this ephemera here is from Pebbles, and I just liked that it was the same color palettes and added a little more. I could get some bigger elements in there. So that was a spider, and while it's hard to see here on the video, you can see it much better in the close-ups, and he looks kind of cool, sort of dark and hidden in there and mysterious. I love that little ghost with his mouth open. It's almost like he's yawning. I ended up leaving the bigger ephemera pieces, die cut pieces behind. I really liked that bat up there on the left of the pictures, but it ruins the balance of the page and it fills up too much of that dark space there. You need that dark space to contrast the pictures as well as all of the busyness of what's going down below. You do need some quiet spaces to rest your eye with as much busyness as that is. So you can see I took that bat off. I really liked that gold Halloween puffy sticker that was there that I had put, and it would have worked on the page, but I ended up sticking it back on the sheet because I felt that I had lots of words already and didn't need to add more words. So while I did add words in the phrase stickers, the boo to you, the happy Halloween, and got candy, you can't really, they don't compete with those big words that's in that digital die cut file. That was my thinking anyway. So I have the puffy stickers, and I am just finding a little place here and there to try and put these. Many of them end up being sort of the center of O's or nestled in the crook of a letter, but some of them just sort of find a home. I love that owl sitting on top of the O and ghosts. He's perfect against that black background of the layout as well. So the die cut elements that I have there, I'm just going to stick those down. And that will be the end of this layout. It's actually pretty simple as far as the embellishments go. Most of the layout is really just the digital die cut file. So thanks, Paige, for another awesome digital cut file. Enjoy the close-ups, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in the box down below. Thanks for stopping in today. Take care.